just taking a look at things like, search terms like, APR has been a very, at one point, what was an extremely popular term. It was extremely well searched. A lot of people were being attracted to it because they were saying, hey, I've got this crypto thing. How can I earn APR in DeFi? All my friends are starting to. But I think that what happened is when people got more involved into DeFi, they started to realize kind of some of the downsides of, or some of the potential risks of participating in these systems, and that's these derivative reward tokens that may not have the same value as the liquidity you're providing, or maybe a more volatile asset than the liquidity you provide. If you provide 2 stable coins and you get back this extremely volatile derivative at a very good APR, that may be a little deceptive in some ways. So that's something to consider. Then at the same time, if you're then being exposed to things like impermanent loss, which is an extremely complex subject, something we could talk about a ton, and it's all about semantics and how it's defined. But impermanent loss is certainly a risk too, and a lot of people got hurt there. So I think that people that were involved in the crypto space approached DeFi. They saw these fantastic yields, which some people did get, but ultimately it burned out very quickly because of the fact that there were these things working against it. And then that was culminated in the fact that we just saw several multi-billion-dollar companies just evaporate. We've seen Celsius basically gone. And I think that kind of rocks the entire space. Like if a blue chip, top of the line crypto platform like Celsius can just go away, well, what does that mean for the rest of the DeFi space? What does that mean for these concepts? And I think that it kind of took the whole, before they were even gone, we saw this downtrend, but it kind of took this concept of people want APR. I think that's gone. I think what people want is people don't want to lose money. And that's basically it. And if you take a look on DeFi Llama, is a great website for these kind of things. But if you just take a quick look at DeFi Llama and what's going on here, I think it's pretty obvious. A lot of these APRs are, or I should say, these are APYs that they show here. So a compounded version of APR. So let's say it's overstated APR. They're not that good. they're really not that good. Even some of the biggest one out here, ST ETH, for those of you that don't know, it's like staked ETH. Essentially, when you stake ETH in ETH 2.0, it gets like kind of locked there, and you can't access it. So they mint this derivative token, which is backed by that. So that's very popular right now because of the merge and whatnot. So obviously, that's the biggest TV up in the space, $6.68 billion. But when you look at that compared to the rest of the crypto market, obviously, arguably DeFi is less than 9% of the crypto space, and those numbers are pretty liberal, I should say, because of all the derivative tokens and issues. But if you just take a look at these top tokens here, they're basically in 3 different kinds. There's ETH of some kind. There are some Bitcoin platforms, and there's stable coins, and they're putting tokens in here at very, very small APYs, and it kind of draws attention to the fact is like, why are people putting $1.2 billion in wrapped ETH into Aave for less than 1% APY? And I think it shows that people just really don't want to lose money. That's what's going on, because there are platforms out there that give better that do give better APRs than Aave, but people don't use them because they don't want to be exposed to that risk, let alone the unknowns of derivative tokens, of impermanent loss, and these things. So for me, I think it's the same thing as what happened in like the Great Depression, right? You had banks that were doing these cool investments and all these cool things. And the moment that there was a run on those banks and people started to pull their funds out, what basically happened, banks started going out of business. They ran out of money. They couldn't support the withdrawals of people's own money. Not dissimilar to what happened with Celsius. And what happened then is, the banks that survived, they came out and they started taking their cash. They put it right in the front windows. They put their cash in the front window to show, you can trust us. The money's here. You can see it. It's there. So if you come in and you cash out, the money's there. And that happened. And those banks, those are the ones that people deposited their money into, because there wasn't the risk of like what's happening in that back office. What are they doing outside of here? Like what's going on with their actions to generate additional yield? And I think that that's the same thing that we're seeing here. That's why you see things like Aave at less than 1% APY has $1.2 billion in wrapped ETH. That's why you see so much participation around staked ETH, because from their perspective, it's a backed token. You know, it's basically the same thing as UP, but UP can be redeemed and STETH can't at this time. So it's from my perspective, it's kind of the same thing here, where the difference is the appetite now is less how do I make as much as I can than hey, I just want to continue to participate in this crypto space and I do want to generate some yield, but I really need to know what's happening. I don't want to like lose sight of the funds, or else I could be exposed, like, you know, Celsius, for example. So I think that's what's coming with DeFi. I think that there's going to be a lot more focus on, you know, being a sustainable, transparent company. I think we're going to see yields continue to kind of level out. And I think what that's really going to do is push us more into the concept of, you know, savings accounts. You know, like I don't want to be exposed to the investment strategies of some third party that may be anonymous to me. I want to, you know, be exposed to no potential risk or little potential risk, you know, and just be able to maintain those assets myself. And that's why I think that as we continue down this line of building on DeFi, the next version of DeFi that I think is probably going to take off is more in the lines of like a savings account.